I'm Sue Taylor, Chief Curator for the New Mexico Museum of Space History, and I'm here today with another episode of Preservation Workshop, or how to be your own curator at home. Today's topic is going to be tools of the trade. Everyone thinks that curators and conservators have very special tools that they are using when they are trying to work on antiques. This is true to a point, especially when working in the lab or in our offices. But believe it or not, you have things in your own house that you can use for your own antiques and collections that you have inherited. I am going to start off with gloves. You've heard me talking about gloves a lot. This is because your hands exude oils and acids that can be damaging to the artifacts that you are handling. I recommend cotton gloves, 100%. You can buy them anywhere online. Just look for white cotton gloves. And never use bleach when you are washing them, just plain old soap and water. Another thing that you can use is a nitrile or vinyl touch glove, especially if you are applying glues or waxes or other such things. Again, not only protecting your hands, but more importantly, protecting the artifact that you're working with. These can be bought, again, at any good drugstore or Walmart. You heard me talking about feather dusters when you are dusting your artifacts. There's a reason for that. Feather dusters especially are very good in that they don't have chemicals in them. You can also use the static-free dusters, but feather dusters are probably the best. You want to dust into the hose of a vacuum, and any old vacuum will work. And don't worry if you don't have a HEPA filter. That is perfectly all right. The object here is to get rid of the dust. If you don't believe that when you're dusting that dust is flying all around, shine a light and you'll be amazed at the beautiful little dust motes that are floating around. They kind of sparkle, but you don't want to breathe them in. So brush into the vacuum and you'll see them getting sucked in by the vacuum itself. Another type of brush to use is a camel hair brush. Again, it's soft, it's pliable, and it's something that'll be really good, especially if you have porcelain dishes or statues. Even silverware gets dusty. How about a paintbrush? You have this around the house. As long as it hasn't been dipped in paint or turpentine, it's fresh and brand new. You can use that as a means for dusting. Another type of paintbrush to use would be this with the nice point, and that's again for getting into those hard to reach places, those crevices. And another type of paintbrush you can buy in any store, arts and crafts, by the dozens. There are these little nylon bristle brushes. They're really, really good for getting into tiny, hard to reach places. When you are working with your antiques, the best thing you want to be able to do is keep them clean. And a lot of people don't know about this, but now you do. Renaissance wax. You can buy it online. This is a microcrystalline wax which can be used on wooden furniture, enamel, metals, you name it. It can be used on just about anything. It also gives a nice protective film to the object itself. I use it a lot here at my own house. If you have leather goods in the house, Black Rock Leather Cleaner is also very good. This puts some life back into the leather. Leather was once a living thing, and if you let it go too long, it dries and cracks. It'll look just like your lips in winter. So if you want to restore that nice plump look, you can use this leather cleaner. Now, if you do have a problem with your leather and perhaps it's gotten some mold or mildew, I suggest using good old-fashioned white distilled vinegar. This can be used by applying to the leather itself, probably just with a washcloth like that. Once you are done, let it dry, and then you can use the leather cleaner to restore the moisture that is in there. So how do you do this? You use applicators. You've seen me use the Q-tips in my last video that I did on removing mold from your slides. I was dipping them into alcohol. Alcohol is a very good thing to use, especially if you're trying to remove mold. So Q-tips, excellent for dipping into your waxes. You can also use good old toothpicks because they're thin, skinny, and you can get into those hard to reach places. Another type of applicator that you can use are these, which you can buy again in any good craft store or arts and crafts center. Not only are they good because they don't have a pointed end, but let's say you have some photographs that have been glued to an album for over 100 years. You can very easily get under them and lift them up. You don't have to worry about tearing the photograph, especially if you're careful. And it's because they're long, you can go all the way underneath. So these are a very good tool to have, and again, easily available. Another good applicator is a syringe like this. Not only can it be used to dust because it gives a nice little puff of air. Again, you're trying to get into those hard to reach places. But let's say you have some glue that you need to get into a crack in a porcelain plate. Well, you can put the glue in here and very slowly and carefully apply the glue to that crack. The type of glue you want to use is good old Elmer's, which is polyvinyl acetate, or PVA. That's its official chemical name. The secret is it is water soluble. When you're dealing with antiques, everything should be reversible. You don't want to use super glue and never get it off. You want something that if you have to do another repair, or perhaps you can do a better repair, you want something that you can easily remove the glue and move on from there. So that is one of the things, again, Q-tips or syringes are good for. Now, once you apply the glue, you can't stand there and hold it for 8 hours or however long it takes to dry. So again, something you have in your house, good old binder clips. These are very good to be used. Or you can go to Walmart again and buy a bag of these wonderful A-clamps. And you can see they come in various sizes, from very tiny to big. What's nice about them is that they have these orange plastic buffers on them, which again will maintain and not damage the artifact. Of course, that's when you want to use your wax paper. Wax paper can be purchased again in any grocery store. You want to put the wax paper between the object and the clamp itself, so you're not going to glue the clamp to the object. Another thing that you probably have in the house and you have seen me use, especially if you saw my last video, are very sharp tools. They are necessary if you're trying to get into places that need to be cut and you don't want to use scissors or anything like that. X-Acto knives are very good because, as you can see, they have a nice narrow edge and you can hold it like a pencil and guide where it is you want it to be. Of course, my favorite is the box cutter, and that's because it has a retractable blade. This has been old and used a lot. There we go. And as you can see, you can make it go as far out as you want or as far in. I always have it just a little way out because I'm a klutz and I would cut myself. But very good tool to have if you have to cut something to make it smaller, like a slide or a piece of paper that you're trying to trim. Another good tool is your special tweezers that look like little spatulas on the end. That is because these can hold on to the object and you don't risk damaging. Hobby stores, because butterfly collectors and stamp collectors use these things. Another really good tool is a dental mirror. This is really kind of neat because Not only can you adjust how and where you're putting it, it telescopes. So you can get into hard to reach places to look underneath and see what it is you're looking at, especially if you're trying to get to the back of those shelves in the garage that you haven't cleaned for the last umpteen years. Finally, you probably have a table just like this one. Notice it's kind of messy and dirty. I do a lot of work on this table, as does my husband. I would like to recommend two very good books, easy to read and fun, if you could believe that. Care and Repair of Antiques, any good library will have them, or Furniture Care and Conservation. These books were actually written for the lay audience, meaning the non-professionals, which means you'll understand everything they're saying. They don't go into long diatribes about chemicals. I hope that you've enjoyed this little presentation and learned a few things. Please try to subscribe to the museum's YouTube channel. You will see not only my other videos there, but educations as well. That is a place where you can be entertained, edutained, and educated. I want to thank you very much for joining me, Sue Taylor, for Preservation Workshop, Tools of the Trade. You can reach me at sue.taylor@state.nm.us.